Hello everyone, here we are in California with the sun shining and the Sonoma Raceway proving to be a huge attraction to not only the drivers but the spectators that want to see some real race action on what is termed a very old school circuit. We bring the Ferrari Challenge to Sonoma and we know it's going to entertain. We have a series of races across the weekend that will feature the Pirelli drivers, the Pirelli AM drivers, also the Coppa Shell and Coppa Shell AM drivers, all driving their 488 Challenge Evos to the absolute max on this circuit which takes no prisoners. Sonoma Raceway, Ferrari Challenge, Coppa Shell. Race 1, our mix of Shell and Shell AM drivers that will be heading out there onto this very, very challenging track to do what they can. Their qualifying session earlier on today was very dramatic.
Yes, it really was, David. You could tell everyone had a lot of ambition, sometimes above the track conditions and where the tyres were, but they did a great job. I'm sure they're ready for the race.
Thank you for saving me there. I had a little frog in one's throat. There we can see the North America 2023 calendar. We've already been to Homestead, Miami and COTA and Road Atlanta and Montreal. Here we are in Sonoma with Road America to come and then the Finale Mondiale in Mugello. Right at the end of October as the circuit awaits us. Please follow us on @Ferrari Races. Myself and Justin alongside me here to bring you all the action from this Coppa Shell race. Sonoma then situated right on the coast here in California, right in the heart of the Napa Valley. Justin Bell with lots of experience of this track as well, which we'll get into pre-race, I can assure you of that. Please follow us on @Ferrari Races, be part of our family. We would love you to be part of it. And here we can see the track in full then. There are some 6 left-handers, 6 right-handers. It's a real up and down circuit as well, quite undulating, and it stretches for 4 kilometers or 2.52 miles. 12 turns in total, every one of them a real challenge here, particularly some of those downhill sections after you've followed the crest of climbing uphill. So again, we'll talk more about that in our pre-race, of course. Weather conditions, air temperature is 35 degrees, the track temperature is 47 degrees. And here we can see just some of the many spectators here that are enjoying the really rather lovely weather conditions and some supreme racing to come. Having just had the Trofeo Pirelli race out on track, which was very entertaining. It's Coppa Shell right now, and just underneath that Sonoma Raceway banner is our studio location. This, however, is the Ferrari Challenge Hospitality, and this, better still, is Amanda Busick.
Well, Dave, for those Americans that are watching this broadcast, what you were saying in Celsius translates to 95 degrees out here, and boy, can we feel it. I was watching the drivers get ready for this race, and most of them have cool suits that they're racing with, but you still saw ice packs on the necks. You saw everyone walking out here underneath an umbrella to keep cool, because inside of these race cars, it is hot, and especially when you're in traffic and you get the exhaust of the cars, it gets even hotter. But I want to go to the battles we're going to see on track today, and I think it starts right here in this front row. There you'll see Gray Favre and Cyril Chotsky. I talked to Cyril prior to the race. He's actually racing in a car of Roger Monteforte. Cyril had a big off earlier in the week and said that he's battling through getting back in this race car and getting close to competing. But Gray Favre, I was speaking with him and his father after the qualifying effort earlier, and Brad is just thrilled with his son has been able to accomplish and where he has grown in the past season. We haven't seen him since COTA, where he swept it and already taking the pole again. So that's where I'm going to be looking for these front laps as we kick off the race here in Sonoma.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Amanda's insight throughout the course of the race today, and a very good job done by Gray Falver. And I saw both Gray and Brad at lunch today, and yes, father was very pleased with son. There's no question about that. And Cyril Choksy then, who's gushing in his compliments to Roger Monteforte, who's lent him his T-car so that Cyril Choksy, following his off earlier in the week, can go racing. And he did a very good job putting the car P2. So that's the way the Shell drivers sit. And let's go back down onto the pre-grid then with Amanda and some very important words to utter.
Drivers, start your Ferrari engines.
Francesco Carrassa then for that honour of drivers start your Ferrari engines, and that's precisely what they do. And the cars will go out for their recon lap and then a formation lap, then a 30-minute race to come from our Coppa Shell drivers and our Coppa Shell AM drivers as well. All those cars lined up then. And I was just looking at the wind has picked up a little bit, which is perhaps affording just a little bit of a breeze to those that are spectating here. Of course, it will make pretty little difference inside the 488 Challenge Evo car, which will be perhaps sauna-like, Justin Bell.
It'll feel pretty sauna-like, and yet you're going into a sauna on your exercise machine wearing a ski suit. That's what it feels like when the temperature gets up. But again, talking to this very nice lady who's with Pirelli, one of the engineers, and she was saying at lunch, when I was getting one of those wonderful coffees that they have over there, she was saying to me that the wind, as it picks up, it really stops the heat soak into the asphalt from occurring. It's not going to, track temperature is going to be able to be kept down, which is a blessing for these guys, because you've got this track is tough enough to drive as it is, let alone when it gets really hot. So they've got literally a challenge ahead.
Oh, thank you so much, Justin Bell. Then as the cars are underway then on their formation lap and installation lap standby, we're about ready for Coppa Shell and Coppa Shell AM Race 1. So that signifies the formal start to race proceedings then, and the build-up to our Coppa Shell race. Our mix of Coppa Shell drivers with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, and the Coppa Shell AM drivers, of course, competing in this race as well. And let's bring you the grid in full. Gray Falva then, having done a great job, pole position. Cyril Choksi is alongside P2. Frank Cesniak and Ray Acosta go from P3 and to P4. Frank Cesniak could be a danger man from there. John Viscup and Dirk Ulrich then P5 and P6. These are the Coppa Shell drivers with yellow sunstrip across the top of the windscreen. Roy Carroll and Matt Dalton going from P7 and P8 to the fifth row of the grid right now, as we've completed row 4, where we find Paul Loska and Jan Bernier. They are P9 and P10. To the sixth row, we find Eric Marston and David Veronin, and to P11 and P12 for those two drivers. To the next row, it's Cameron Root and Mike Luley then, and Cameron Root with work to do from that position on track. Robert McWilliams then goes from P15, and the best of the AM drivers is Bruce Cleveland. He put a pole position for the Coppa Shell AM ahead of Lance Corley. Good quali, and another good quali from Lisa Clark as well. They go from P17 and P18. Then it's Roger Monteforte and Jeffrey Nunberg. They go from P19 and P20. They complete row 10 of our Coppa Shell AM grid. It's Mendoza and Lynn, who are on the 11th row of the grid. It's P21 and P22 with Dana Goodwin and Steve Check, P23 and P24. The 12th row of the grid completed by those two drivers, Jerry Walters then and Neil Langberg, going from P25, P26. So that the 13th row of a grid, of a very packed grid with Anthony DiCarlo and Al Heggie, P27 and P28. All of a sudden, the Sonoma Raceway becomes very, very busy with Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo cars, and the drivers now all preparing for the race. Justin Bell.
This, obviously, with the Shell class here, you find that they will definitely be getting a lot of last-minute instructions, just reminding them to be very calm right now as we see them on that final part of the formation lap, side by side. It means you got to be careful. You're running offline. You can pick up marbles very easily, which these tires do. All tires do. Nice and composed. Everybody stick to the game plan and be prepared to take alternative actions.
Alternative action, should it be necessary. The Richard Mills safety car then will peel off, and then it will be the responsibility of Gray Falva and Cyril Choksi to control the pace of the rolling start then, as a Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell is about to get the green flag and go racing. 30 minutes of hot rod race action to come from the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell and Coppa Shell AM drivers, and let's see how they do as they head towards the start line. The greens fly, and let's go racing. So Gray Falva with a good start then. He managed that absolutely perfectly. Cyril Choksy P2 as the car's uphill right now. And I said Frank Szczesniak could be a danger man right from the very start of the race. He and Ray Acosta having something of a ding-dong there, and 1 or 2 cars going out wide and onto what was the grass but now becomes dust because of the heat here. And if that car does not get moving from there, that could be all sorts of a problem. So the 177 car of David Veronin, we knew that David Veronin with work to do right at the start of this race, and he's trying to do that. And they run downhill for the first time of asking Frank Szczesniak there. So that was a heck of a start from David Veronin, moving up the order. And it is Gray Falva leading from Cyril Choksy and Frank Szczesniak, who did get the better of Ray Acosta then for that P3 place. So a lot of cars out there on track, Justin, and a lot of movement. And Cameron Root, another driver that had got a lot of work to do, and he's doing that and dives to the inside of David Veronin. Now, will David Veronin get him back on the switchback here? He's certainly going to try for
certainly
that.
Giving it a shot. Look, but he forced it onto the apex nicely. They both did well not to touch there. That was the right move to make.
Yeah.
You've got to give a big lunge. It was well defended, but it was dealt with respect. They didn't touch. In Formula One, they hit each other. We know that. But no, that was, as you said, Greg Favre's just.
We've got a full course yellow. Forgive me interrupting you.
I thought that might happen because I saw a car go off in turn 1 right at the start, and then
oh no! And now Cameron's going to have to give that place back, isn't he?
Is that? Yes, he is. What did he not get the memo?
He's going to have to give. Yeah, I think he's going to have to give 2 places back. So
I saw this car pull off, and I thought he was driving. He was tracking sideways. I think he's done a suspension wherever he got hit because as he went off, it was crabbing a little. So that is not the place to be off. That is literally as you come over the brow. Let's watch this replay and see how they did.
So then, as the cars are heading uphill here,
what we missed was he was on the inside, and I think he just got slammed on the left-hand side, and it's damaged something as you see the car crab off to the left. Worst place to pull over. An absolute good call, great call from race control.
Yeah, and you have to do that to bring the cars under the control of a full course yellow. So very, very unfortunate, but there we are. That's the way it is, and yes, full course yellow playing out right now. So whatever Gray Falva had, unfortunately, that means it's done and dusted in terms of a gap, because whatever he'd built, Cyril Choksy will be right on him. Roy Carroll then, the Foreign Cars Italia driver, unfortunately. And we were speaking a lot about Roy Carroll during qualifying, and there's also damage there for the number 100 car of Anthony DiCarlo. So Anthony DiCarlo in strife as well. Some significant damage to the front of that 488 Challenge Evo. You can see cars down here are almost absolutely stationary.
I suddenly thought they'd gone full course red in 1 second because they all checked up so much. That was an unusual moment.
So when we went to the full course yellow, then it was Falva from Choksy from Acosta. And then for the Coppa Shell AM drivers, it was Cleveland, Corley, Mendoza, the top 3.
That didn't just happen during the yellow, did it?
Well, it's possible. It's possible.
I think it might have happened during the yellow. That's why they backed up and they all smashed into each other.
Yeah.
Or one did. That's annoying. Let's just talk about the psychology of having a restart, not a restart, yeah, effectively a restart. So close after the actual start. It gives you a shot, if you've had a clean race and maybe didn't pull the move off you want, to have another go.
Yeah.
Literally you go, oh, I know he's going to check up a bit into turn 3. I'm going to go by. So I think we're going to see some quite brave moves coming off. Remember, the tyres are only 3 more laps in, so it's not like they're unduly worn out. But this is a big field, and hats off to these guys. They got all racy straight off the start.
Yes.
Some great driving, some great opportunities taken, and respectful of being overtaken. Sometimes you had to be gracious in defeat in that moment. We've seen how the other race unfolded. It's like a theatre production. You've got different acts, and which one do you want to be remembered for? And it's not often the first.
No. So the car's being led around by the Richard Mille safety car under this full course yellow. Of course, the clock continues to tick down, and so the race is effectively still on, albeit, of course, no overtaking, because we are behind the safety car during this full course yellow. So it was Gray Falber, Cyril Choksi, and Ray Acosta for the Shell drives. Bruce Cleveland, Lance Corley, P1 and P2 in the Shell AM. So a couple of cars to be recovered then before we can go back to race conditions. Race control will be on eyes of that at all times, and we will get a warning of when we're going to go back to racing. You can see the recovery team are already on it. They work very, very effectively and quickly here.
I think it's going to be interesting to see if Cameron Root has to hand back those positions.
I think he's already done it.
Has he already done it?
Perhaps not. No, perhaps he hasn't.
Well, he'll know. Oh, is this what?
So we're on board with Eric Marston. No, I think this is live, so I don't think it's the
live.
stack
Yeah,
up that we think might have happened when we first went to that full course yellow.
They're just doing what they should do and slow up, but obviously past the trucks there. But a nice reset. To be honest, unless I'm in the lead and I was pulling out a gap, this is no other driver in the pack thinks this is a bad idea.
No.
Gives them a second shot at being opportunistic on the first lap to the detriment of whoever's in front of you. So these guys all stacked up, but if you thought they were feeling a bit sporty a few minutes ago when we started this race, 7 minutes ago, they're feeling even more sporty right now because the adrenaline is up.
Yes, the adrenaline will be pumping. So whilst the cars are being recovered then, and we can see the progress that some of the drivers have made here, let's take a look at just how really difficult this track is. As you can see now, Cameron Root giving those positions back, as we kind of knew that he was going to have to do that. So I was saying we're going to just take a look at just how difficult this track really is to master. An onboard lap we've got with Manny Franco. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Manny Franco, driver to number 18 Ferrari Challenge Evo for New Country Coppa, and this is a lap around Sonoma Raceway. Here at Sonoma Raceway, we're on the front straight, getting ready for turn one. Turn one is a fast left-hander, a lot of commitment uphill. You're gonna get a good compression, just trying to stay as far left as you can, carry as much speed. Braking zone here for two. At the crest, you're gonna get a little bit of oversteer, trying to apply power as quickly as you can. Here for 3 and 3A, trying to hug that left side, use all the compression. Turning right here for 3A, you're gonna get a little bit of oversteer coming up the crest of the hill. Heavy braking zone for 4. The car tends to snap loose a little bit. Trying to get on power as soon as you can. This is a fast right-hander coming up here. Just trying to carry as much speed, full flat, full commitment here for entry of the carousel. You're trying to stay as far left as you can. Trying to use all that grip, trying to get on power as early as you can. You have a little bit of compression, full throttle here. Going onto the back straight, getting ready for 7. Trying to make sure everything's in order. Heavy braking zone for 7 here. You're just trying to send the car in as fast as you can. Trying to maintain that speed, keep the car under control for 7A here. Trying to apply power as fast as you can without losing the rear. So we're coming into the S's here, really delicate on the throttle, trying to keep as much pace as you can without losing the rear here. You're looking on the left-hand side for a post to indicate where the track limits are. It's a blind corner here for 8A. Going into 9, full flat here. You're braking a little bit here, trying to apply power as quickly as you can, using all of that track on the left-hand side. Going into 11, the last corner. Here you're trying to go for a V shape. It's really easy to lose the end on exit here. Just trying to apply power as quickly as you can, keep that car under control. Going onto the front straight again, start finish here, and this is a lap here at Sonoma Raceway.
And that was Manny Franco, and that was the winner of race 1 in Trofeo Pirelli earlier today. What a lap and what a race he had. But when you talk about this restart, Justin, I want to go back to what must be going through the minds of these different competitors. You have Gray Falber, who's leading this pack to the restart, but someone like a David Veronin, who's back in the pack, he said that the theme of his weekend so far has been searching for progression this season. He does have 3 wins already, but there's been some miss on some consistency. But said that he performs really well at tracks that have some character to them. Said he probably just doesn't know what he's doing wrong, so he's able to take advantage of it. But as we round into 20 minutes left in this race, I want to go back to the other theme of the day that we've been talking about is tire drag. How much tires are now left in these now that we've been running under yellow? I bet we're going to see a shootout, guys, once we get back going.
Great point, Amanda. That is, I was just thinking to myself, they've missed that first third of the race where they push in all that aggravation and they build up the tire temperature, defending, overtaking, jostling for position. It's a very sparring situation. Then we saw the race one, with the Pirelli, they settled down kind of for a little bit, and then they had the last phase, Dave, when they really went for it. And some have managed their tires better than others. Right now, everyone's on an equal footing. I think we're going to see a very competitive race from this point.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. The clock is telling us we've got 19 and a half minutes, as near as makes no difference, left in this race. It's not quite going to be a dash for cash, but it is going to be a somewhat shorter race, and therefore tyre longevity must be better, because of course you're not taking as much out of the tyres now when you're running around behind the safety car in this full course yellow situation. So going to be very, very interesting when we do go out to racing. Got no news yet on how well the recovery is doing. We have seen Cameron Root give places back as we look at the 1, 2, 3 car there. Beautiful looking car in the Ferrari Challenger. Some of the liveries across these cars, and Robert McWilliams is one of those, which is something very special indeed.
Something I also just realized, this gives an unexpected opportunity for the coaches to communicate to their drivers. Normally in the race you can't overload with the information, because obviously you can't comment on how to approach the next corner when you've just dealt with the one before. It's too much information. You've got to let your guy do what he needs to do. Right now, I bet there's quite a lot of radio traffic, and Amanda probably can see them with working on that. The crew chiefs to the drivers, just sort of saying, okay, you had one shot, now let's recalibrate, let's regroup. What are we going to do the second time? And it actually is, in this particular race of the weekend, I think there's probably a much needed lesson to be learned from it. And I think we're going to see some people really making advancements when they come out. As you say, the cars look great. These guys are probably very aspirational within the series to advance and show teams that they can do what they, that they have the skill to be in the category above. So there's a lot to play for here. It makes it very exciting.
Very much so. There, the Richard Mille safety car then, Gray Falva, P1, Cyril Choksi, P2. Now, bear in mind, as Amanda pointed out, that Cyril Choksi is in a T car of Roger Monteforte, who has loaned him that car effectively. Roger Monteforte himself is running P3 in Coppa Shell Am. This is the 122 car of Frank Szczesniak, who's in P5. Now, Szczesniak has got John Viscup ahead of him, and then it's Ray Acosta, Cyril Choksi and Gray Falva, who are occupying the top 3 positions in the Shell drivers. For the Shell Am drivers, Bruce Cleveland, Lance Corley and Roger Monteforte then. And 16, 17 minutes of the race remaining as the recovery operation continues. The drivers, I think you're absolutely right. I think there'll be a lot of radio traffic with the driver coaches who are just trying to keep their drivers cool and calm and collected in there, because of course when we do go back to racing they need to be back on it once again. So using this time as something of a reset, and I think you said that, Justin, that's precisely what is going to happen as we look at the car of John Viscup then, that's currently running P4, the number 190 car of John Viscup then, who has podiumed a couple of times this season, including taking a P2 in the second race at Montreal, if my memory serves me correctly. Now there's Cameron Root, who was looking very, very lively, and I have to say both Cameron Root and David Veronin have really cut a swathe through the pack, and need to do that as we look. And Lisa Clark has had such a good season this season, having taken 3 wins and another podium as well. So Cameron Root at podium position, and Lisa Clark has had such a good season this season, having taken 3 wins and another podium as well. So Cameron Root and David Veronin, I would suggest, are going to be some of the more lively when we do get back to racing. We saw Cameron Root then, he overtook a couple of cars under the full course yellow. Now he had no alternative, because I think that had he tried to back up, there'd have been all sorts of problems, but he has had to give those positions back, of course, so he's got to do it all over again in the 199 car that you can see there. So reaching half distance in this Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell race. And what do you do? What is your coach telling you now to keep yourself, keep you as a driver calm and collected, as I mentioned?
It depends on the temperament of your client, I think.
Fair point.
You could get a nice Kimmy response if you said it, if you approached the wrong
alone.
guy.
Yes.
Leave me alone. Generally, what it is like, what shall I do on the restart? How hard shall I push? These are the questions you'd be asking. Where do you think my tires are?
Yeah.
Right now, I'd be saying all-out attack. Like they say in Japan, it would be like time attack. I wouldn't leave anything on the table. I wouldn't risk it even on time management. I would just go for it right now because you're in the middle of the race. You're going to have I can't even divide 100 by 30, but you've got a lot less opportunities to overtake
of course.
As a percentage, and so let's make the most of it. I think you're right. I think Root and Veronin are going to be very sporty, but everyone at the front was looking good. If you notice, they were only separated by 3/4 of a second, half a second. So we hadn't done a Manny and headed for the hills.
No.
So that isn't going to happen here. Guys, just do not have another full course yellow. That would be a real disappointment for everyone competing.
And unfortunately, in motor racing, you and I have seen, and you have competed in enough of it, that there is unfortunately this realism that safety cars do breed safety cars, don't they? Because
they do.
you know, everyone is all bunched up once again. Everyone is ready on the get-go, and it's almost inevitable with such a big grid of Coppa shell cars that that is a very real possibility. But we're only going to have if we went back to racing now, we've got 13.5 minutes of the race remaining, so over half the distance has gone already, or half the duration has gone already, and no messages on our screen yet as to when the safety car is coming back in. And the drivers have to be, the safety car just can't peel in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You as a racing driver, you have to have warning, don't you, about when the safety car is going to come in, so you can prepare yourselves to go back to racing again.
One lap until the pace car pulls off, or whatever message you get. I think it was very unfortunate, the accident that we saw that caused caused the yellow, it was just out of my eye, but I could see the angle of the cars coming together. I think he had the perfect hit. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the left rear drive shaft. It was the perfect hit on the wheel, I think, because I saw it crabbing as it came off to the left. So unfortunate, it was in the worst position on the track.
Yeah.
So Mark Rafov over there. I mean, I also want to say that while we're under this pace car, are they about to pull off? Are they close to that? Looks like the lights are out on the pace car.
You're absolutely right. Well spotted.
Well,
Justin.
I can't see my face. I can't see the piece of paper, but I can read a menu the other side of the track.
We are ready to go racing. This is going to be a dash for cash, because by the time they get to the start-finish line, there's going to be about 12 minutes of racing remaining. Whoa, hold on.
Okay, this is going to be sporty, guys. I reckon they're going to be even more wound up than they were the first time. Opportunity is just presenting itself to everybody on that grid.
So it's the responsibility of Gray Falva then. He controls the pace here. He can decide when to give it 100% on the loud pedal, and he does it now, and he leaves Cyril Choksi and Ray Acosta a little bit in his wake. In fact, the top three break away a little bit as we go back to racing once again with just under 12 minutes of the race remaining. Gray Falva then doing a very good job there on the restart, because we have seen drivers get it wrong.
Yeah, he did exactly what he needed to do. See how nicely gapped they are side by side. He chopped him off from there. Nice defense. It was just perfect the way they did that. Just as we did in that little description, easy to go offline there. Everybody so far is minding their P's and Q's.
David Veronin and Cameron Root were having something of a ding-dong, and as you can see, there is David Veronin then coming up against the 132 car of Jan Bernier. Now we've got Cameron Root right behind him, and I have a feeling that David Veronin and Cameron Root are going to be two of the more livelier drivers that we're going to see in the what's remaining of this race. And here comes Cameron Root on the inside of David Veronin now. Brilliant battles between those two drivers during the course of the season. It's been phenomenal to watch the two drivers that are just so entertaining. And Jan Bernier's rearview mirrors are full now of the Cameron Root car. So where is Cameron going to try and put a move on Jan Bernier? Well, the inside line there was left open just for a moment, but I don't think Cameron Root was quite quick, quite close enough to be able to do anything. And what Cameron has got to be very aware of is the fact that David Veronin is going to be looking for Cameron to go for a move and see if he can't take advantage as well if he becomes vulnerable.
Yeah, he did the right thing. He backed out. He knew that the last-minute lunge was not the right thing. But I mean, he's lining him up in his sights right now. He's certainly looking pretty racy going down into here. He'll pull a move off trying to go into 11, I'm sure. as he goes. That's very nicely done. Last, see the undulation as you start to hit the brakes. He's got to hold it tight, pinch the nose down, hold the apex all the way around, and have a perfect exit. And 2-car, he goes by as well at 177. Wow.
Well, to be fair, give credit to Jan Bernier there for giving Cameron Root racing room, but in so doing, of course, he was then vulnerable to David Veronin, who came through, who just sent it down the inside and thought, I'm going to have some of this hole that you've created.
Yeah, you try to do something nice, and someone takes advantage. No, that was great. Well done, all three of you. But I don't think the story's over for Root. I think he's on a bit of a charge.
Gray Falva sets the fastest lap of the race then, and it comes with just under 10 minutes of the race remaining. So Gray Falva leading from Cyril Choksi and Ray Acosta. For the Coppa Shell Am drivers, it's Bruce Cleveland, Lance Corley and Roger Montefort. Then the 1-2-3 with Lisa Clark looking particularly quick, and so too is Jeffrey Nunberg, who are currently just P4 and P5 at the moment. So let's see how this race develops, because I really rather think there is going to be some developments before the checkered flag comes out, and we've got just about 9 1/4 minutes of the race remaining here. So Frank Szczesniak in the 1-2-2 car, just lining up John Fisk up ahead. And John Fisk up knows that Frank Szczesniak is just waiting here. So you've got 3 drivers here, Ray Acosta, John Fisker and Frank Szczesniak, all in a 3-way fight for this P3 place that Ray Acosta is holding at the moment.
And of course you can see 3 different choices online coming out of 7A there, and 7, which has resulted in a little spread as we go down the hill. Very sensitive to throttle all the way down here. That's what, you don't use the wheel, you use the throttle, by the way, kind of going down through there. That's how you really get the most out of the car. Heavy braking, another move by Root behind. Has he pulled it off? He's very good on the brakes, the way he pinches it to the inside.
And again, I mean, that's
fantastic.
You could have almost photocopied that from the last lap, because it's absolutely identical. Identical.
Oh my God. It's like I had a friend like that. Anyone I dated, he dated after. That's just the same thing there, look. He goes through and, good Lord.
Matt Dalton and Jan Bernier's cars look very similar, because they have similar colour schemes. And Cameron Root and David Veronin and there's another car with a similar colour scheme just ahead of them now, and that is Frank Szczesniak.
I mean, I tell you what, this is spicing up.
As we thought it would.
They're driving very well, but I tell you what, I'm really, really impressed with Root's driving. He helped to hold the nose down like that and have a clean exit under pressure. That was really, really, really well done.
Bruce Cleveland doing a really good job here, leading in Coppa Shell Am. Now, of course, he has got the advantage of something of a cushion behind him in Robert Williams, who is a Shell driver, so out of class, so protecting him from Lance Corley.
Really well done.
So he's got a very, very good position. Bruce Cleveland heading Lance Corley.
Exactly, a repeat of the last race too.
Yes.
You get a spoiler in between you and the guy behind, and we've seen, as I said, it's hard to overtake, but there are overtaking opportunities. So if you set the guy up in front, and again, look at this, the underneath. Whoa!
And that's Lance Corley. And now they're not in the same class, but even so, there is track position here, isn't there? And Lance Corley then in that car 176, who is currently running ahead of Roger Monteforte, who is P3 at the moment. So it is Falva from Choksi and Acosta. For Coppa Shell drivers, for Coppa Shell Am drivers, it is Cleveland ahead of Corley. And then it is Roger Monteforte who is running P3. Oh, I love that camera and the sound of those 488 Evos. Yep. We mount that on the wall there, particularly for that effect. It's absolutely brilliant. Here comes Cameron Root again, who is absolutely on a mission here. Frank Szczesniak, in my opinion, is very well aware of this, because he gapped Cameron Root a bit. He's got John Fisk up ahead of him, but Cameron Root and David Veronin,
they've got a rope between them. They're just pulling. He's pulling. And do you know what? I admire the strategy of Ronin. He's not getting in the mirrors of Root too much. If you need to move forward, you've got to give the guy a break.
And in fairness, Veronin has been able to take advantage of the last 2 overtakes that Cameron Root has done. Yeah. So he's kind of letting him do all the hard work.
Oh, absolutely.
Brilliant driving.
But that's it, sometimes it's like you hear it when you have a teammate, sister car, I'm not going to overtake. It allows you to move forward, and they're basically, without communicating to each other, doing just that. But it's amazing how much you can communicate through your driving style.
So this now becomes a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way fight that is going on. And it's brilliant stuff. Now, when is Veronin going to think, I need to get ahead of Cameron Root here? Because he's let Cameron Root do all the hard work, and Frank Szczesniak is managing this really, really well.
He is. He's actually just pulled... Oh, another inside move there at 7-8.
Goodness me. Whoa. Sideways moment for...
Keep it moving, mate.
Oh,
that's You're not going to get stuck.
So unfortunate there.
Yeah.
You could really see the car going around, and Jeff Nunberg then trying to hold on to it, but
that was a pity because he just had fastest lap in his class. He was on a nice run. He must have just hit the curb, touched the curb, bounced.
Just unsettles the car,
unsettled it, and then hit the other one. Yeah.
Very unfortunate. Just under 5 minutes of the race remaining, as Cameron Root now has, like on the end of a fishing line here, has managed to reel in Frank Szczesniak a little bit here. Now, Cameron Root driving up the hill here gets ever so close. Oh, right across
on the curb.
curves.
You attack that curb line, though. You do attack it, and somehow you end up in the right place. He's got to set him up back up into turn 7, I believe.
Okay.
That's where my prediction would be that he'll do it. As he go over the brow, he's got to position the car nicely. He's a little far back, but see how wide. Unfortunately, I can't say that. Szczesniak. He did well.
Yeah.
I thought he was a bit dodgy on entrance, but actually he had a very good exit to the corner.
Just ahead of them, John Viscup is really taking it to Ray Acosta here, which is the fight that's going on.
This is a podium position
final
we're
podium.
talking about right
Absolutely.
now. But if he looks in his mirrors, it's like a horse race behind. So he's just got to stay in front, and thankfully it's not just one car. Right behind him, Viscup's got Szczesniak behind. Sorry, guys. Szczesniak. Szczesniak. That's easy for you.
Yeah, you've done very well there.
Thank you, Szczesniak. I apologise.
Alpha, Joxy, and Costa are the top 3 in Shell, but for Shell Am, this is awesome stuff.
Oh, no.
That's Lisa Clark has gone around.
Lisa, what a pity you did so well.
Is a pity because was running in P4. And
she's
Lisa
only going to drop a position if she's able to.
Yeah.
Oh no,
maybe 2.
She
got loose.
No, she got her wheel off under braking. She was doing it so perfectly, but she didn't quite have the room. Boy, oh boy, is that one racy lady. She's brilliant. That was some fantastically aggressive driving. Wow, that was full respect there. Pity it ended badly, but great driving.
Now, Gray Falver has had something of a privileged existence, hasn't he? Because every fight that's been going on behind has allowed him to get up the road, and I know Amanda Busick has got a view on this.
Yeah, we're actually stationed next to the team. We've been keeping eyes on his father, Brad, as he watches this race unfold. He's already offered us waters. He's been pacing around, counting the seconds between his son and Cyril Chosky. But I talked to Gray prior to this race, and he really gave credit to the Ferrari Challenge system of how they go about handling these weeks with all the practices ahead of the actual race. Gray said from last year where he podiumed here to now, he credits the seat time that they pick up in this series, and that has in turn showcased itself on track for Gray as he continues to add wins to his win column.
Thank you so much, Amanda Busick. Right, as we were then, and here we are with Cameron Root now taking a look at the outside. Is he going to dive to the inside now, having tried to sell Frank Szczesniak something of a dummy, which didn't work on this occasion? But you could see what he was doing there. He was lining him up on the outside in the hope that Frank Szczesniak was going to cut across to defend that line. That would have given him the inside. But here comes David Veronin on Cameron Root. I said he would have a go before the end of the race here because Veronin would rather be P6 than P7. So, as Cameron Root just takes a look once again. I mean, this has been brilliant driving by all of these drivers. John Viscup now has,
Veronin is starting to get well in the pair. I think he said, I've been enough being the pilot fish. I now want to take the position. There's something about to happen here, and I'm not sure where. But one of these four, there's trouble brewing down the inside. No. Not quite, but he's still going to be out there. He unsighted him. He looked in his mirror, and I think he just ran a bit wide. But Oh.
See, Cameron is trying to attack whilst not leaving himself vulnerable to David Veronin behind him, which is a heck of a job to do, isn't it? And now Frank Szczesniak sends it up the inside of John Viscup. Now, if he can make this stick, now John Viscup could really lose out to Cameron Root and David Veronin as well. I tell you what, there's Frank Szczesniak. There was I thinking he was spending all his time defending. Was he heckers like? He's thinking about how I'm going to get John Viscup, and he's done it.
He's done it. But I tell you what, that allowed Veronin to really position himself a bit better behind Root. But we'll see. This we still have turn 11, you know, and it's all going to be played for.
And the thing is, you know, look, Szczesniak has just escaped up the road.
Oh, he's going down the inside. He's trying to make the move.
Oh,
he's pulled it off.
That's brilliant. I mean, he must have been so hard on the brakes in the end, but he's done it. David Veronin then coming from a way back there on the inside of Cameron Root. Well, brilliant stuff. Is he going to be able to get John Viscup in this final lap as well? Well, let's see. So Cameron Root, this is great driving from Veronin, because what he's done, he's let Cameron Root do all his fighting for him, really.
So, here, a little twitch there. Come on, hold it together. Don't, because I tell you, Cameron is Cameron. He's going to absolutely. Oh, he hit the curb there. He's very aggressive as he tries to go down the inside. He is going to give him pressure the whole way. He is not happy about having lost that position at all. I know the feeling. I've got to say that Cameron is very good through this left-hander. So I'm wondering, you see how he's really pushing. You see the front of the car bobbing and weaving there as he's trying to get the who can get on 1/10 before onto the gas more than the other guy will get the chute up into here. And Syrian, look at this.
Veronin then, you could see, was trying to collect. Here comes Cameron Root trying to send it around the outside.
He's going for the wide line. Come on. This could all go in his favour.
This is extraordinary stuff. These drivers really giving it everything that they possibly can. And John Viscup trying to hold on to this P5, and he's being chased by David Veronin and Cameron Root. I mean, talk about be under pressure. That's precisely what he is under. But he's soaking it up like a sponge, doing a really, really good job here. We're on the final lap of this Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell race, and it is a Coppa Shell race that is going to be great news for Grey Falva, because he'll see the checkered flag unfurled. And Grey Falva for Coppa Shell takes victory ahead of Surreal Joxy, who will take P2. And in the end, look at this, Cameron Root and David Veronin. This is for the AM race. No, it's not. Of course, it is for the P5, 6 and 7 position. And as Ray Acosta takes P3, Frank Szczesniak takes P4, John Viscup and David Veronin and Cameron Root take P5, 6 and 7. Goodness me. And they're ahead of Matt Dalton, Jan Bernier and Eric Marston. Now, Bruce Cleveland is the driver who is leading the AM class. And Bruce Cleveland has had Robert McWilliams as his rear gunner for lap after lap after lap. So Bruce Cleveland is going to take victory for Coppa Shell AM ahead of Lance Corley. And then it's going to be Roger Monteforti, I think, that will take P3 for Coppa Shell AM. What a race this has turned out in being. Of course, it was populated or with a full course yellow and a safety car for much of the race. And you can see right up to the checkered flag, still places are a-changing as the cars head towards that checkered flag. And sure enough, Roger Monteforti does take P3 in Coppa Shell AM. Justin Bell, we've had an extraordinary Coppa Shell race.
The boys and girls put on a very good show there. I've got to say, I thought we just saw as that Veronin and Root battle. I think if the cars weren't so valuable, there was a move on the exit of turn 11 because he was ahead. I think he would have squeezed him into the wall but he didn't. I mean, I was thinking I was going to do that, and then I realized I couldn't afford to do this. So, but they actually defended with amazing respect, and I think that's the mark of these guys maturing at this point of the season. Probably wasn't like that the first round. I'm sure because everyone's fresh and they haven't got into a rhythm. By now, you know how everyone drives. You know what you can do with the drivers around you, and big thumbs up there for Bruce, because I'm sure he had a great race. I mean, but I think at the front, Mr. Favre probably went what motor race, because he had to be disciplined, he executed, I mean, full hats off to him. Everyone goes, oh, that was easy to win out front. But you have to put yourself in the position.
So, Gray Falva from Cyril Choksi and Ray Acosta, the top three in Coppa Shell. And it was Bruce Cleveland, who we have just seen, who took victory in Coppa Shell Am. An absolutely brilliant race. And credit to all the Coppa Shell drivers, exactly as Justin has said, because they all put together a fantastic race for us. So, Bruce Cleveland, Lance Corley, and of course, Roger Monteforte taking P3 in Coppa Shell. Just give you the full and confirmed results then. Here's page one for our Shell drivers. Gray Falva ahead of Cyril Choksi and Ray Acosta. Those three drivers you'll be seeing on the podium. Ahead of Frank Szczesniak, John Viscup, David Veronin and Cameron Root. Those three drivers get us the entertainer of the day, probably, for some brilliant driving. Matt Dalton, Jan Bernier and Eric Marston complete the top 10 in Coppa Shell. And the best of the Coppa Shell Am drivers then, Bruce Cleveland, Lance Corley and Roger Monteforte heading Paul Lynn, Jeff Nunberg, Steve Check and Dana Goodwin. And that's the way the rest of the results that you can see on screen. And unfortunately, we lost Dirk Ulrich and Roy Carroll fairly early on in the race, which caused that full course yellow and safety car. So there we have it. Justin Bell, what a race.
Yeah, really. And Lisa Clark, what a pity for her. I mean, she did such a good job. But seeing the cars here in the paddock, great race. Very, very happy. So this is the moment, of course, that we see as the drivers are getting out of their cars. Hot, victorious, but very happy. That's great being congratulated there. He should feel very good, Gray. That was an excellent race and takes a lot of commitment to do what he did. He had a very uneventful race, but I think when he watches this broadcast back, he will realize that he ran the race in the perfect way while all the madness was going on behind. And enthusiastic fans there had probably not quite as hot and sweaty a time while they were watching the race. Well, that certainly proved for me. This is my first time of watching a race here at the Ferrari Challenge at Sonoma Raceway, one of my favorite tracks. And we're in the top panel there in the darkness, looking out on the incredible action out there on track. And I'll tell you what, Amanda, with our winner, probably has some very happy, smiley faces down there.
Well, and Justin, the 3 races that he's entered to of late, the 2 in COTA, and now here he has won every single one of them. And Gray, I want to go back to that restart. You executed it perfectly, but how much of this win came from earlier today in the qualifying effort you had?
I think it's big. I mean, this track is really tough to pass on. So if you can get out first in qualifying and stick there, it's a big advantage. And then, yeah, I knew I had to ace the restart, and if I could do that, then I'd have a good shot. So happy with the win for sure.
Are there things that you learned today? I know part of that race was under yellow, but towards that last shootout of the race, what can you apply to tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even with that long yellow period, tires were going towards the end big time. So tire management is going to be huge regardless what happens tomorrow. So hopefully keep it on track. Great insight and great win for Gray.
Well, Amanda, I think that was because I sat next to him at lunch and I gave him some good advice. That's total fib. But he and his father look so happy and so much enthusiasm. But let's talk about the points in the championship right now as we look across the beautiful Sonoma Valley. Cameron Root is the leader with 91 points. Cyril Choksi, 87. Then Szczesniak, then Falva. Then we have Bernier, John Viscup, Ray Acosta, Matt Dalton, and Eric Marston. Matt Lully, Thor Hagen, and Nathan Schwiegart at the back of this grid. But I tell you, in Coppa Shell, everybody put on an amazing performance today. Very impressed by that. Of course, here at Sonoma Raceway, remember, this is one of the foremost racetracks up here in this area of Northern California. And for good reason, because it always brings the best action, which has an effect on the overall points in every championship. They're not the winner of today's race, but Lisa Clark in Coppa Shell. She is on 82 points. Then Dan Cornish, Lance Corley, they round out the top 3 as we finish the Saturday here at Sonoma Raceway. Bruce Cleveland, Jeffrey Nunberg, Roger Manfonti, and of course, as we get all the way through all those American flags, you can tell how the Americans have embraced the Italian culture here. everybody doing an incredible job. And of course, points are what is on the board, but individual race results are the way to get there. Amanda has the winner of our race.
And Bruce Cleveland was just telling me about his race off camera, and I want to go to the fact that it is a very first-time winner here and a first-time celebration. I absolutely love these, Bruce, and I know you're going to tell this story in many years to come. What will be the theme of that for you?
The theme is a young boy from Petaluma. I never believed that I'd be on this track or racing at all. It just wasn't part of what we could do. We were not a wealthy family. And I just feel extraordinarily fortunate to be able to compete here, win here, my home track, in front of all friends and family. It's an amazing feeling. Yeah.
One other thing that I want to tell you is there's a podium over there, and you're going to be on the top step of it.
That's amazing.
You're also going to be handed a trophy. Where are you going to place that?
That's going to go on the top shelf. Absolutely, top shelf in the racing area that we have in our house. That's small right now, but hopefully it's going to get a lot bigger.
Congratulations to Bruce Cleveland. I will say one thing in the race control meeting earlier today, it was asked for all the competitors whether today was your day or not to join at the podium. So in the Ferrari spirit, we're going to have podium celebrations coming up next.
Well, Amanda, I do love to see the expression when you win a race, there are no excuses, and that is the best feeling for a driver and a team. So I'm sure tonight he will enjoy the party more than anyone else. Well, plus the other driver. Well, thank you so much for watching us here at Sonoma Raceway. This has been a wonderful weekend. 2 great races, Coppa Shell-Am, Justin Bell here up in the booth. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. Dave and Amanda, we've had a great time. And of course, join us tomorrow for some more fabulous Ferrari Challenge racing. Bye, everyone.